I'm sat with Iveco's product director, Martin Flach. Martin, how are you finding the conference so far?
Really good. It's very impressive how this conference has gone from being a very small event to a major event in the calendar each year, and it never ceases to amaze me what a great sign-up of speakers we get and what a great combination of events for the day. So yeah, really good so far.
Brilliant. And there was a little bit of discussion this morning about autonomous trucks and the future for that. Where do you see us going with autonomous vehicles?
Well, autonomous vehicles are already sort of here and now technically in the car world. You can go and buy a Tesla which will drive itself from the car park to where you're standing. So the technology is there. The reality to go from that to the point where you can actually have vehicles on the road is a big step. So we're likely to see little steps at a time. The first thing we'll probably end up with will be trucks running in platooning. So 2, 3, 4 trucks linked together with a gap between them of maybe 4 or 5 metres, and they'll run down the motorway together, getting a fuel consumption benefit for all of the participants in the platoon. But going beyond platooning, the benefits we can get from autonomous vehicles can help us with issues like vulnerable road users in the cities, where at the moment the driver is overloaded with information, and the difficulty for the driver is to actually prioritise all of the things which are going on and make the right decision and either go or stop, as the case may be. With an autonomous vehicle, the vehicle can make the decision for him, and that will be a big step forward.
I think that's a really interesting point, because a hot topic in the industry at the moment is Sadiq Khan's direct vision standard that's coming in London. And that's a tricky one, because by 2024, the RHA have figures that suggest he will have banned half of the HGVs operating in London. Can manufacturers keep up with that speed of change?
Well, the first problem we have with the direct vision is that we don't yet have a defined standard to work to.
Right.
And that in itself is a problem. And we're working together with TfL and Loughborough University, who are involved in this, to actually get to the point where we have a standard. But until we have a standard, none of us actually know what we've got to do to try and achieve the standard.
Yeah.
But when we have the standard, then the challenge will be, how do we actually move forward, and what do I need to do to get 3 stars to just enable me to carry on for the short term? But the market will then be pulling for 5 stars, and how do we get to that? How do we, all of us as manufacturers, get to a point where we can meet the requirements? The challenge also is to do it in line with all of the work which is going on safety in Europe, and not to be going in a completely different direction to the direction that Europe is going into. So for Europe, direct vision is an item in the list of things which is being looked at, but it's not one of the top ones, because I think in Europe there's been more recognition that intelligent systems can be more effective than direct vision.
Okay, interesting. And on the subject of sort of urban distribution, you launched the Iveco Daily Electric at the CV show. Yes, how was the take-up on that?
A lot of interest. The challenge on Daily Electric is that the technology is still relatively expensive. So anybody who's looking to buy an electric and save money is unfortunately going to be disappointed. They are expensive vehicles to run. But it's starting in an area where up to now there's been no product available. So we're able to start to offer a vehicle at 3.5 and 5.2 tonnes to meet a requirement in the market. And we're very much focused towards all of the sustainable agenda and alternative fuels and technologies. And this is really coming very much to the fore in the sort of post-Dieselgate era. And if I look at the media on a daily basis, there's another anti-diesel argument. So operators are now seriously looking at what's the alternative. And really on commercial vehicles, the 2 viable alternatives are electrics on the small end of the vehicles, the 3.5, 5 tonnes, maybe going up to 7. And then on the medium and heavy, and even on the light vehicles, we use natural gas and biomethane particularly to reduce CO2, reduce NOx, reduce particulates.
Okay, so alternative fuels depends on the vehicle and its job?
Very much, it depends on the vehicle and the job. You could do an electric vehicle at 18, 26 tonnes, people have built them, they will work. They're very heavy, you lose a lot of payload, they're very expensive, and they have very limited range. So they will work, but they're not a one-size-fits-all. To do an Arctic on electric, we're a long way off, although probably people have seen in the States, Elon Musk and Tesla are talking about building electric Arctic.
Yeah.
They have a fundamental difference in the States. They have no length limitation.
Right.
So they can make a vehicle much longer to actually physically fit these batteries in.
Yeah.
They'll still have an issue with loss of payload, they'll still have an issue with range, they'll still have an issue with cost, but in Europe we have an issue with length,
Yeah.
which is the one which will kill electric vehicles on Arctics.
So an interesting one for us to watch, but
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone who thinks that Tesla playing games needs to recognise what they've done on cars.
Yeah.
They've brought for a car up to a very good level of electric car. If they can achieve the same on trucks, then it's going to be very interesting times.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say that diesel's not going anywhere in the UK, obviously for now anyway. So at the moment, alternative fuels are the future and we're looking towards them, but diesel, Euro 6 is still a relatively
Euro 6 is relatively new. Euro 6, the results of real world testing on Euro 6 are good.
Yeah.
All of the various tests which have been done have shown that Euro 6 is doing what it should be doing, which is great news. But what we're seeing very much is a strong anti-diesel lobby. We've now got the government's air congestion consultation, looking at 30 cities where potentially some form of low emission zone will arrive. The low emission zones are likely to move from being Euro 6 diesel to start with.
Yeah.
The next step will be to take them to zero emission or lower emission still. We're on a route which is fairly clear that's going to mean diesel will become very difficult to support in the cities. But going up and down the motorway, diesel will still be the majority of the vehicles, I'm sure.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Mark.
Great.